things about Darling Companion is we get this sort of woman with gypsy blood in her who starts giving sort of like fortune teller predictions to send people out on a new adventure every day as the search goes on for this lost dog. What do you think that's supposed to mean? What are people supposed to take from this?
Well, what's wonderful, I think, in the writing and in the playing, Ayelet Zurer, this wonderful Israeli actress who plays this gypsy who says she's descended from yogis and soothsayers and whatever. But there's a little bit of dialogue between her and Mark Duplass where he's like, "Are you doing this? How much of it is hocus pocus, chicanery, and how much of it is real?" And I think you get the sense that she does have this sense, a sensitivity that many psychics, that's all it is. They just sort of trust their instincts more than, and have developed them, and are born with a gift. I think she has a touch of that, but she says something that it's about giving people hope. It's about not losing hope, and I think on a metaphorical level, so the character's about, it's just that force which says, no, don't give up hope. Whether it's about finding your dog, whether it's about finding yourselves again in your relationships. I mean, that's how I always perceived her, as someone who, and I play a very cynical character who absolutely has no faith in this.
You're the voice of reason for the audience when you say,
yeah.
What are we talking about here?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and she's mentioning the prana, and, the prana, right. A lot of eye rolling and not too much, I hope.
Now, you didn't rehearse like you did with Big Chill on this movie? There wasn't a possibility.
I think we had a couple days.
So what have you and Lawrence Kasdan found out with this working relationship that's covered almost 30 years now?
Yeah.
Why it works?
I think it works now for the same reason it always did. We're on the same wavelength. I've always appreciated Larry's writing. I've always appreciated his sense of humor. I've always appreciated the way he works, which is that he trusts actors and he lets the actors initiate and explore their own interpretive impulses to the material he's written, and then he guides them sort of based on what they're offering. And it's mostly an editorial, like, well, yeah, or he'll say nothing. He'll just let you go. And so he trusts. There's a mutual trust. He trusts actors. He helps them if they stray too far from the path. And actors trust him. I've always admired his taste. We have this very similar taste in tone, in terms of finding the tone. What is too much? What is too little? Where is that? How do you thread that needle for this particular piece of work, for this film? What is the style, the tone, the pace, the rhythm? Don't talk about it a lot, but I've always felt that we just got it. We get each other.
Kevin, you've been considered, along with, I would say, Meryl Streep, one of our great stage actors. You've achieved this eminence, and at the same time, as a film actor, people don't say about either of you, oh, they're so theatrical. They're from the stage, which you get with some people. What have you found is the big difference? I mean, what do you do differently? How do you scale down, I guess, for a movie to make it seem so natural and then amp things up so you hit the balcony on a live performance?
Yeah, I used to think it was that film somehow diminished your acting vocabulary, if you will, and
because you had to do so little.
Well, that you couldn't do so much. But the fact is, over the years I've come to embrace the idea that in fact it's an expanded vocabulary. You can do things on film that you cannot do on stage. I would not say that there's a similar thing with stage, that you can do things on stage that you can't do. I think that bad acting is bad acting and good acting is good acting. With a camera 5 feet away, your audience is closer. You can talk as quietly, you can not talk at all, you can just experience what's happening and be open and alive and whatever. fascinating and charming and wear lots of makeup and look as good as you possibly can and voila. No, but but that you can't do on stage because they're not going to hear you past the second row. But you can do whatever you can do on stage. It has to be real. It has to be filled. It has to be truthful. It's just a different arena. It really has to do with how far you are from the audience in a way. And I think one learns instinctively if you're working on Cyrano de Bergerac and you know you're in a 1,400-seat theater at the end of the 4 weeks of rehearsal. It's not that you can't be subtle or new. It's just there is that you just instinctively make choices along the way that I guess one learns this will carry to the last row. Not just the loudness, not the volume of my voice, but the feeling. But it's still acting.
And what do you look for to say yes to a stage piece now? Since I presume you've got your choice of what you want to do, and you can work every season if you wanted to, or you can take time off.
Yeah, I think I'm happy to say I've arrived at that point where I could probably do a play every year if I found one I wanted to do. I usually, since I started doing films, when I've come back to the theater, it's with one, if you could say George Bernard Shaw, maybe is not, but it is. It's about language. I was going to say the theater is more of an oral experience, and it's about language, and especially if you're doing Shakespeare, obviously.
And you've done a lot of Shakespeare.
A lot of Shakespeare, because and the theater offers that more than film. Obviously, you don't have many films that are done in blank verse, for instance, or any kind of.
Hopefully, you don't.
Well, some David Mamet has a poetic kind of, or Pinter, but not when he writes for film or wrote for film. But I guess my point is, the theater, it's usually to do classical elevated texts, which I've also had the good fortune to do on film. I did a film of As You Like It and a film of Midsummer Night's Dream, and we sort of filmed for television Hamlet. But,
and did you film Pirates of Penzance?
Yeah.
With Linda Ronstadt?
Yep. Right after the Broadway run.
So does it? I mean, they always say the great thing is it's live theater. You're there for it. But now that all of these decades are past, is it sad to think some of those performances nobody's going to see unless they go to Lincoln Center and watch a little video of it shot from the back row on a stationary camera or something?
No, that's sort of what it is.
What it is.
It's like if, I was in the Jeu de Paume and I saw a Cézanne of, 3 green apples, and it's just, what an experience. And I'll never forget it. Having a photograph or a print of that painting would be nice, but it's an ersatz kind of weak substitution. So to have captured it on film, it was what it was. It was a theatrical experience at the time. And sometimes they don't translate all that well, do you know?
Because it is built for the stage.
Yeah.